Raving Gaijins.
Raving Gaijins.
Raving Gaijins.
Raving Gaijins.
Raving Gaijins.
Raving Gaijins. Raving Gaijins.
Hello and welcome to the Raving Gaijins podcast, talking anime, manga and all that good stuff. I'm Alexander of the YouTube show Scotaku Reviews, and with me today is my good friend Paul.
Hello.
And our very special guest today is the rising superstar himself, Liam. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. So, what were you up to this week, Liam?
Well, I've just been filling out my stream. I've been playing. Well, I started my card game month, so I'm about to make the poor financial decision to only play card games for a month. And as of yet, I've only just started Phantom Dust and a couple odd ones. But Phantom Dust it's a real gem. It's a real it's one of those games that really feels like one guy's vision, like not diluted by a council or like a team saying, hey, make it more accessible, make it more this, make it more that.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. Have you guys ever seen that game, or like it's...
Paul, have you really gotten into the online card scene? The card video game scene at all?
I've not actually heard of that.
No worries. It's a pretty niche game, so like that's totally okay. But yeah, it's like super dope. So I've been playing that, and Fire Emblem Echoes has been taking up a lot of my time as well, which I've really been enjoying because I thought that Fire Emblem Fates was like kind of a huge disappointment. So that's just me. I know some fans really liked Fates, but for me, I really was wanting it to go back to like, oh, we're actually fighting in a war as opposed to like eugenics simulation. But you know, other than that, just catching up on Attack on Titan, which continues to be really entertaining. It's not War and Peace, but it's fun to watch, and continuing to struggle through the mire that is Arrow Manga Sensei. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Like,
I watched maybe the first episode of that, and I was like, okay, this is fine. It's not good, but it's not bad either. And then it got to maybe the part where it's like, no, brother, I want to fuck you, and
yeah, no, it's it's baffling, and you know, it's like, oh, they're not actually related. Oh, well, that makes it so much better. That makes it A-okay now. No, like, fuck, man, it's
oh no, not again.
Yeah, no, it's like the characters occasionally are ace, and they say stuff where you're like, that's a good line, that's a good bit, but like every single episode, it always gets dragged down into that like so typical anime thing of like, because they're not adequately communicating, they're just getting angry at each other, and it's fucking stupid. You know that thing of like, just talk it out and solve all your problems. Yeah, this suffers from that intensely. It's I'm kind of just watching it in the hopes that it'll come in handy for a future podcast with like Jeff or something.
Oh yeah.
It's fucking shite. Like, I cannot recommend it to anyone. Like, I would say watch like, if you're gonna watch Arrow Manga Sensei, just watch Oremo, and even then I wouldn't particularly want to recommend Oremo. Yeah, that's mostly what I've been up to. What about you guys, Paul?
Yeah, Paul, what have you been up to?
Just playing a bit of Persona 5, watching a bit of Attack on Titan myself. Been reading the Tokyo Ghoul manga recently, actually, as well.
I quite like that. I think I'm only like 5 volumes in, but
it's something I'm enjoying a fair bit.
On the topic of Attack on Titan season 2, don't you find that like the second season is just like incredible payoff to the first season?
Yeah, definitely. I found it was a lot more impactful in the first season personally. It's just like with recent events.
Yeah,
no, it's really cool. I mean, I really think they needed that first season to set it all up, but the second one is just blow after blow. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, this like with just before Attack on Titan season 2 aired, I started reading the manga, and I remember vividly reading the first volume after the anime on the train, and every single chapter was just whoa, this changes everything. Chapter on chapter on chapter, and I'm ahead of where a season 3 would probably get now, and I'm just sitting here watching the show and waiting smugly for Paul to get back to me on what's been happening in the show.
Does it continue to get good up until then?
It goes places you wouldn't even imagine Attack on Titan to go.
Oh, great.
And they do a really good job of like changing the way that they sort of move through the plot in a really refreshing way. just
That's
don't.
awesome.
I don't want to spoil things for anyone, including Paul. Here,
No,
'cause-
naturally, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool though, because Attack on Titan, I think a lot of people were expecting to be the one that just burns out and doesn't end in a satisfying way. And I mean, certainly we're not at the ending yet, I think, right? So
Oh, I don't think the manga's even close.
yeah, so seems to me like it's gonna be pretty strong for a while, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, it's just a solid series.
Well, I hope we get season 3 before like another 4 years have to pass.
With the stuff that happened in that story arc, I'm more than ready for that. So what have I been doing this week? Try to keep ahead of Paul in Persona 5. To not much success. Revisiting some old Xbox 360 games is also what I've been doing.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day in high school, I used to be a huge fan of the first-person shooter scene, the Halo games, the Call of Duty games. Even if some of the Call of Duty games weren't as, the fan base wasn't as kind as it could have been. But yeah, and I've recently rebought Halo 4 pre-owned out of a second-hand shop. And when I got home, I was surprised to find 2 free 14-day trials unused still in the box.
Wow, can you, if you have like an active sub, can you still consume those? That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I've been playing a bunch of Halo 4. It's been a lot of fun just revisiting it.
Halo 4's campaign always kind of interested me because of how different it was from the previous ones, but I've heard mixed things.
Oh yeah, it sort of felt like a bit like Halo Combat Evolved's campaign in a way, just in the way that it plays out. But it's also, I like the way it tackles some of its themes.
Right.
The one thing that I really don't like about Halo 4 is the way that they decided to split up the story, so that it's like, who's the didact? Who's this guy? You're gonna have to read this really boring 400-page long novella to find out, and even then it isn't even clear why he's doing all the things he's doing in Halo 4.
I couldn't really,
Right, I getcha.
I couldn't really get into Halo 4. I just thought it was way too different from the old Halos. I loved Reach. That was my favourite.
Yeah.
Just going on SWAT all the time, shooting people in the heat, and then just go build some maps. And then with Halo 4, you just can't really do it. I mean, SWAT was alright, but I didn't like the maps at all in Halo 4 when it came to multiplayer.
They're not the best.
Yeah, none of them were memorable for me.
Haven was a good map, but then it was sort of the flagship map, wasn't it?
All I remember is this map where everything's red.
That's a vivid memory.
Pretty much, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing this week. Just
Dope.
revisiting some past funsies. So, how did you get into anime, Liam? Just
Into anime?
Yeah.
Christ, yeah. I think, I mean, obviously, as a kid, I had seen stuff on TV in Canada, like, we had, Dragon Ball Z, Card Captors, Sakura, those were, of course, Pokemon, but that wasn't one that, like, jumped out at me as hard. For some reason, Pokemon seemed more plain Jane to me, maybe because it was, like, a big brand.
Yeah.
So it didn't, like, so it was like Dragon Ball and Card Captors were the ones that really struck me, because I was like, oh, they don't have like video games and a big card game, and lo and behold, Dragon Ball totally did, but I didn't know at the time. But I think those ones, and there was also Escaflowne that played here, and a French animated show called Cyber Six, which is totally not like it's as much of an anime as, say, like Wakfu. Which is also French.
I've seen a bit of Cyber 6 floating around.
Oh, no kidding! Yeah, it's really good. But anyway, that was like gateway, but I didn't really like get into it until later. And then like some point in high school, a friend of mine recommended some new shows because he was like, "Hey, you'd probably like these." And like thinking back on it, it was kind of weird because him and I like didn't talk all that much. He was more of like a classroom acquaintance. So like for him to just recommend something out of the blue like that strikes me as really weird. But he recommended some older shows like Canon, and some newer stuff at the time like Clanad and Gurren Lagann and stuff. And I watched them, and Clanad and Gurren Lagann still stick out as like some of my all-time favorites. Oh, and Haruhi Suzumiya was one he recommended as well. And yeah, like two of those 4 stayed as all-time favorites, and like having not watched other romantic anime before Canon, like I wouldn't really recommend it to anyone because it's like tired tropes, but
Yeah.
if it's your very first romantic anime, you'll have a fucking good time. Which I did, and I remember it very fondly, despite like trying to go back and realizing that like, oh no, this is not watchable anymore. But yeah, and then I don't know. From there, I watched stuff that was around. I had friends watching, or another friend was watching Uran High School Host Club, so I watched that. And
I love that show. That's
That was a good show.
yeah, it's got real charm to it.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure if it needed to be like 50 whatever episodes.
26
But-
it was.
Oh, was it only 26?
Yeah.
Pardon me. Fuck, for some reason I remember it being 50 something, but I guess it's been a minute. Well, never mind then. That's about the right length. Yeah, no, like I think that would probably have been the entry point, I guess, and that just continued forward, and I just Googled for like anime downloads, and I was like, oh wow, look at all these amazing, totally legal download sites I can use.
At the time.
Yeah, yeah, and so that, you know, and then that just went on to like following new weekly anime, and then that went on to like watching stuff as it comes out as immediately as possible, which I've been doing for like, I don't know, sometime in college, so like 7-8 years ago, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty much the path. Did you guys have any like weird path getting into it, or?
Yeah, Paul, well, I'll go first, I suppose, because I had a very specific path towards getting into anime. I guess it all started with Naruto back in the day when Shippuden was just coming out, or was it just coming
Right.
out?
It just came out in primary school.
Yeah.
I think you got into it around high school. I remember you speaking enthusiastically about Code Geass first. That was one that really spoke to you, and I think that's when you started getting into
Yeah,
it.
we'll move on that later. Because
Okay.
there's steps that you weren't involved in
Fair enough.
that happened between then and Code Geass.
Right.
So I enjoyed Naruto for quite a while, and then I sort of ended up growing out of it, and all the manga volumes that I had of it, I sort of just shoved to the back of my cupboard and forgot about for quite a while. And then quite a few years later, I watched Death Note and watched all the way through, and I enjoyed it, but I still didn't have this clear idea of what anime was. I just thought, oh well, it's this animated thing, and it was made in Japan, and it's quite good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that anime had such a huge following, and at some point I got involved in a Halo community forum where a user that I got quite friendly with recommended me Spice and Wolf,
Oh.
and I loved that. I watched all of it all the way through after some peer pressure from some of my friends. I watched it all the way through, and yeah, it was awesome. It's
I mean, it still holds up.
Yeah.
It's a fucking solid show.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
the soundtrack is amazing, and I don't know, just watching an anime like that that's so tense and so dramatic, it sort of traumatized me slightly for a little while, where if I heard the OP at all, I would just start crying wherever I was, because I was like, oh god, not again. I remember this shit.
Yeah, in high school, Clanad After Story was so intensely distressing to me that like for years, just like thinking too hard about it, I would get all teary eyed. Like, oh my god, have you ever followed that through, Clanad to After Story?
I've watched.
Yes.
Paul's followed it all the way through. Paul, do you want to speak about that a little
Okay,
bit?
well,
Well, this was a
Yeah.
long time ago, but
like, boy, that ending, right? Like,
yeah, that was unexpected.
yeah,
Personally, I'm not I thought the miracle was a bit cheesy, but I don't know.
sure, it is, yeah.
Just like, I thought it was an
Right.
alright show, and I liked the sort of dark drama that was happening around the end. But then when it just undid it all and just said fuck it, it's a happy ending, I was just kind of like, well, I feel like I've been robbed of a good show here. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree that like it only really gets special when it gets really dark. And like the second season, I think there's just a string of like 7 episodes leading up to the end where it's like, oh, you thought things could get worse, or you thought things couldn't get worse than this? Well, here we time to just kill, you know.
right.
Yeah, no, I've heard that about the ending though from a bunch of people too, how they don't like the turn, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So after Spice and Wolf, I went back to this friend on the forum, and at this point he recommended me Rosario Vampire, and at the time I enjoyed it because I just wasn't used to anime, I suppose, and looking back on it, it's an absolutely terrible rendition of what is a really well drawn, fun manga.
I was gonna say I actually literally just read through all of the manga. Like I think I rounded it out last year, and I had started the year before, and I was like, all right, this writing's nothing special, but there's a certain something about it that kept me going.
I think
I never saw the anime, but
I'm up to like the end of volume 2 of season 2 of the manga, and past volume 8 there's just a really sharp change in the direction of the art, where it's suddenly like, whoa, this art is, some of these drawings are amazing.
yeah, his art takes real turns throughout. Like he genuinely improves as an artist in a visible way all the way through.
Yeah, just God, those drawings are beautiful.
Some of them, yeah.
And I guess the only reason I haven't finished it is because I've got this terrible habit of like, well, I've got to save this for later. I've got to savor this, and then I just put it away, and then I go, oh well, what's that? Welcome to the ballroom. I'll go and read that, and I'll do the same with that, and I have done, and it's just led to this terrible cycle where I've got shelves and shelves of unread manga.
For a rainy day, yeah, that's funny.
So after Rosario Vampire, I didn't really ask that guy about anything, and then I just sort of let it sit for a while. But I could still remember the gut punch that Spice and Wolf gave me. It affected me so much that I had this pain in my stomach. I can't describe it, and it sounds stupid, but I had this pain in my stomach that was sort of tense, that stayed with me for like a couple days after watching it, because at that age I just ended up so invested in it, and since then I hadn't found anything that had quite done that so much, until Paul peer pressured me into watching Code Geass.
Aye.
And Code Geass is wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great show. It's got a fast pace for it, and it's dramatic and everything, but I don't know, personally I like that. I can see why it puts some people off, but I like it myself.
Yeah.
No, I really dug it too. I love Clamp as well, their character designs, so...
Oh yeah, those... Clamp's amazing, the character designs. So yeah, Paul started showing me Code Men in the Classroom, which was the abridged series of Code Geass. And looking at it, I was like, okay, I don't get most of these jokes. Some of it's just lol random humor, but the surface level of this plot seems interesting. And then eventually there came a weekend where I just went, oh, I've got nothing to do, I might as well just check this out and shut Paul up. And then on the Monday I came into school and I was like, what the fuck, Paul, why didn't you just tell me to watch this earlier? God damn it, I need to see more of this stuff. Where can I see more of this stuff? And here. And I was like, okay, I'll watch some more shows. And that was the leaping point where I was like, I like anime. And after watching that show I realised, oh wait, Spice and Wolf and Rosario Vampire and Death Note, those are all anime. I guess I like this. What else is there? Yeah. Then I moved on to other stuff like Future Diary and Guilty Crown, and those are not so great, but...
Miraniki's kind of cool though.
Yeah, it's... I mean, that guy... It's sort of a one-trick pony sort of deal, Future Diary, even though it isn't that great. But if you look at Big Order by the same writer, then... Oh boy.
Yeah, Big Order is not so hot.
Did you watch Big Order?
I watched the one episode, which... It didn't take long to catch on, you know.
A very good decision to watch the one episode alone.
Oh boy, Liam, you do not understand
how bad does it get? Like,
hey, I'm gonna describe a scene to you that actually happens in this show, and it's played completely straight. And this was the turning point for me personally.
Right.
The main character and one of the stand users is trapped in a tunnel, or they run away or something, and something occurs where the main character is told, no, don't touch your ears, that'll be bad, don't touch them. And she's wearing this like headband around her head that culminates in these bunny ear looking things on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they get into danger and he grabs them just to pull her away or something, and she's pregnant.
Wait, because she did that?
Because he touches her ears and she's instantaneously pregnant.
That's fucking stupid. What's the point? how does that play off? Like, does that go anywhere? Or?
No, the next episode opens with a scene where she's lying in like an infirmary or something, and she sits up and she just says, "Oh, the baby's gone."
So that like that makes her pregnant. Does she get pregnant with that person's baby,
with
or
the interaction? She became pregnant.
And then it's just gone the next day.
But does that like literally ever go anywhere in the show? Like, is there a child? Does she even
she
end
doesn't,
the show
she doesn't
pregnant?
give birth. The baby doesn't come out of the womb. She's just not pregnant anymore.
So it's just an idea that just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
like,
and they play it completely straight.
that's fucking unfortunate. Like, shit. You'd think at least they'd like end the series out with her pregnant, and that might lead to some other series or some shit. But like,
No,
I
this
think it was
th-
meant to be like a weird gag, like it was meant for laughs or something.
right,
it-
right.
The way
I
it was
mean,
directed,
yeah.
it just didn't come off.
Yeah, it was just cringy, really.
It was.
Yeah, that's something.
It got an ironic laugh out of me because that was the only reason. That was the only reason I was still watching the show at the time.
Well, it's kind of absurd. Yeah.
That was about episode 5 or something. That was the turning point for me where I was like, okay, this is absolute garbage. But it wasn't the point where I stopped watching. The point where I stopped watching was the sister gets kidnapped and somehow she holds herself hostage and takes control of the entire enemy team.
She holds herself hostage.
Yes.
Oh well, that's
And she gains
it's quite the skill.
She gains control of the entire enemy organization by holding herself hostage.
Christ.
Yeah.
So then
Then
that
weird-
was episode 8. I have no idea what happened in episodes 9 or 10
Well, basically,
or even beyond in the manga that could outdo that.
I'm just
but-
going to say, I was pissed one day and I was bored, so I watched all of that. And basically, it's an incest relationship between the sister and brother, which is fucked. And then you've got the fact that what was the end? I can't even remember the end. A lot of bullshit happened. It was like
You must have shut it off from your mind.
I was gone
That's,
by that point. It was just all a haze. It's just something about dream world, something dreams coming true or something. I don't fucking know.
Right.
It's just confusing mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the show was. I mean, like it was visible from the first episode, but like, yeah, like fuck. I can't believe it continued to be that poor.
Not to mention there was another scene later in the show where how the bunny girl, she actually tries and rapes the main character, ties him down to a
Oh
fucking
god,
bed.
why?
Yeah.
She already got
kid you
pregnant
not.
the first time.
I kid you not.
That's stupid.
Yep.
So, Paul, how did you get into anime? As much as you can remember.
Well, I remember in nursery I used to watch like Cardcaptor Sakura.
Yeah.
That's one I remember in nursery, and then as I was getting into primary school, I used to watch Yu-Gi-Oh, Shaman King, and there was another one, probably Pokemon, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
I didn't really in my head cartoons and anime were the same thing. I wasn't really able to differentiate between the two at
Yeah.
that point in time. I only was able to see the difference when I read Naruto for the first time, the manga. It was number 1. I got it from the library,
Yeah.
and I read it over and over again. I think that was around the time where I was like really starting to appreciate it. And then since high school, I was just sitting in every day watching anime series after anime series, just sitting there from when I
Yeah.
came back from school to when I go to sleep, just anime after anime.
And now you're at the point where, like, every so often you'll come on the Steam chat and be like, oh god, you're so lucky, Alexander, you haven't watched every anime under the sun yet.
That's basically how it is for me. Like the barrel is dry. It's like I need to wait for new shows now. I've tried looking like for obscure shows and stuff like that, but there's nothing really that grabs my attention anymore. So
It's unfortunate.
I'm fussy that way.
Like, you'd expect, you look at anime and you say, well, there's unlimited anime, but for someone in your position, it's not so true.
Probably is pointed out there, and I've just not found it. It's just it's hard to find for me.
It's because you won't watch Monogatari.
Monogatari's like it's it's really cool, but I had a hard time getting into it. Like it's not my thing either.
What did
so.
you start with? This is a question I ask everyone who's said this to me. What?
I started with Bakemonogatari.
Good. That's the right place. That's the
Yeah, no,
that
absolutely.
is the start.
Yeah, no, I remember when it came out, being like, "Oh, this looks neat," and then being like, "Oh, right, this is by Shaft. Oh gosh, they're really good at doing that Shaft thing where they animate like this." Yeah, no, it's neat, but for some reason it just didn't stick with me. I've been thinking of going back to it, but
Now's a good
Just
time to
hasn't
go
happened
back
yet.
to the series with like the Kizumonogatari prequel film coming out and all the novels coming
Yeah.
out. Like I read the Kizumonogatari novel before I seen the film, and it reads like a classic novel would. It's just so well written, and if you didn't get on Bakemonogatari, then I'd say Kizumonogatari's a good thing to try because it goes for a very different tone, sort of ham horror / comedy / psychological drama /
right,
a bit of action as well. It's a better starting point, I think, than Bakemonogatari.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Along with that, just the production value of the Kizu films are just glorious. Like,
Yeah, I mean, they're films. I would expect so much. Yeah.
Reading the credits, I saw 4 or 5 different animation studios, including PA Works and Gainax, involved in those films.
Yeah. Well, I guess you need that many for a fucking film. Like, yeah, they're always all in there. Anime films are.
Yeah.
Man, I wish everything could be fucking film quality.
Oh god, yeah. It's yeah. I'm gonna go back and see those Kizu Monogatari films as soon as I can, because they showed at a festival recently, or not recently, back in October. They showed in a festival, but it was only the first 2 because the third one wasn't out yet, and I can't wait to see that one. So while I have you here, Liam, there's
Sure.
a couple of questions I'd like to ask you on certain things that you may or may not have brought up in previous videos and completely swiped from the conversation, where I've just been sitting there going, what does he think, what does he think, and then just move on. And one of those things I'd like to talk about is, what do you think of Doctor Who?
Of Doctor Who?
Yeah.
I think in all my life, I think I might have seen 2 episodes. I could not even tell you which seasons they were.
Was one of them Blink?
No. Okay, no, but I do know about Blink. That's the Weeping Angels, right?
Yeah.
My girlfriend watched a couple seasons of Doctor Who when it was at its like peak popularity here. So I am actually totally familiar with the episode Blink. Mm-hmm. I'm also familiar with like there was that. So that one was when nobody's looking at them, they could move. And then there was also those other like aliens or some shit where when you can't see them, they like appear elsewhere or some shit. Maybe they were the same ones. I don't know.
Is it the ones where as soon as you look away from them, you forget about them?
Yeah, I heard about those ones too. So yeah. The only thing I even remember from the episode I saw, because it was like over a decade ago, was like this like horrible stretched out face man. I don't fucking know. I couldn't tell you who that is or.
Oh, that was that the end of the world was the episode, I think, where it was a woman.
Oh yeah, that's it.
It was a woman a woman's skin stretched across like an iron frame.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Cassandra O'Brien. Yeah.
That was actually the first episode of Doctor Who I ever watched, and
oh, no kidding. Yeah.
I've just been really into it since. I was a die-hard fan of it as a kid, and
I mean, it always seemed like a really cool show, and you guys are in the right place for it, so that makes sense. Yeah.
Now that I'm in my adulthood and I can look back on things that I enjoyed as a child, or look at things with less of a fanboy sort of perspective.
You've got a more skeptical eye.
Yeah, I've got a more skeptical outlook on these things. A lot of the Russell T Davies episodes, like round about End of the World, maybe about 4 seasons after that one. In that time frame, there's a lot of really solid episodes. But in the more recent runs, like there's a series ongoing right now, and the first 4 episodes were all bad. Like,
oh wow, that's a bad streak.
Just boring, flat, bland, nothing. Like the first episode, everyone just did stuff for pretty much no reason, and the CG effects on top of that were awful. And
so like new writers knew everything, right?
More in these sort of things, but more recently they had a 3-parter episode, which is rare, and it was a really solid serial. It was just 3 sort of on their own episodes, but it was sort of a story arc, and it was just really solid.
Yeah, I don't even know if Doctor Who's televised here anymore. Like on BBC Canada for sure, but like Doctor Who at its peak popularity here was on like Canadian channels and shit.
Yeah.
But I think it stopped being televised here completely. So like it has fallen off my radar so completely because I don't see ads for it anymore or anything like that.
Well, it feels to me like they're just reusing the same old plot sort now. It's like
you don't
the
watch
appeal,
it though.
I know, but I see from the adverts like the appeal they try and build up. Like they'll bring a character from like 1960s or something like that. Oh yeah. And then people will be like, "Oh, that's that character from the 1960s," and then they'll just be like glued in and enthused because something's got their attention.
Nowadays, it's definitely all about the fan service. Like in the first episode of the recent series, they had a cameo from the Movellans, which are an alien race that appeared in one series in a 1970s episode, and they're not particularly loved. It's not a particularly classic episode, It's just, oh look, here are the Mavellans. You like this, don't you?
And
And
and then people applaud.
And while I did find that charming watching it, I did fall for it. I also saw the flaws in the episode.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, I don't know, if you were to get into Doctor Who, really, I'd say start with the revived Series 1, like the Russell T Davies outings with Christopher Eccleston in them. Because among the fan base, Series 1 is considered to have no bad episodes. Or at least every episode is solid. Just boom,
Right,
boom,
right.
boom.
I remember I enjoyed them as a kid.
Mhm.
I had them on DVD.
Yeah.
Watched them a few times.
Yeah. I don't know, recent
Yeah.
recent episodes, Peter Capaldi is a really good actor and he's really passionate about the role, but it's just something about the writing is really lazy, and
Right.
there's just it doesn't feel as impactful as it used to. Maybe that's just to do with growing up, but
Yeah, nonetheless, the sentiment's there, you know.
and there's a lot of foibles in the lead writer's material where it's like you can watch the episode and you know who wrote it just based on the tropes, and that's never a good thing.
Yeah, no, certainly. Yeah, no, I can definitely say, as someone whose majority of Doctor Who knowledge comes from a top trumps deck, I'm not too keen to go back to it. So, but it always struck me as a neat show. So,
Oh yeah, it's
you know.
it's definitely
But-
potential. Always got potential.
Yeah, but like honestly, I for some reason I've just never been too into TV sci-fi. Like Star Trek just never hit me. Stargate SG-1 was probably the only one that I was kind of into for a period. But everything else has just never hit me. So yeah, it's not even unique to Doctor Who.
Oh,
Just for some reason, that whole subgenre just never seems to land on me.
No,
I don't know why.
you're not alone, Liam. It's fine. Doctor Who is the only TV drama I ever watched. It's the only one I can get into.
Oh, okay. Right.
Or well, I was into Sherlock for a while, but oh man, that last episode was terrible.
Oh fuck, really?
Yeah, you know how people complain about Sherlock because it's like smart people don't work this way.
Sure.
They straight up had mind control in the last episode. They had a character who was so smart they could control people's minds.
Wait, because they were so smart?
Yes.
Like it wasn't like hypnotism or
No. The episode just resulted in, like, after the episode, I went online and I typed in, does anyone else think Sherlock Series 4 Episode 3 sucks ass? And I found just people praising it. Like, oh my god, it was a good episode. And I guess it's just got that impenetrable fan base that'll tolerate anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got one of them crazy fan bases, but yeah, I've never bothered peering around too much in there, you know.
I don't know. If you were to watch Sherlock, I'd say
I saw the first like 6 episodes with my girlfriend, and like
yeah.
like I didn't feel like it was good. I didn't feel incredibly compelled to go forward, but I didn't dislike it either. It was good.
If you ever feel like it watching any more Sherlock, watch the next 3 episodes. But on the 3rd episode, don't let the credits roll, because there's an end credit.
Don't let
There's
them
an end
roll.
credit scene that ruins the entire plot of the entire series and makes it all terrible.
Well, no, now I'd have to see it. But that's
Retroactively.
funny. Wow. Damn.
And that's the same lead writer as Doctor Who. So
Ah,
Interesting
never would have
correlation.
known.
yeah, I don't think he's a bad writer. I just think he's better under someone else's direction.
Sure.
The other topic that you've brought up before, I think it was the Heavy Rain stream,
Yeah.
but there was another conversation going at the same time, but I just keyed in because it was the topic. What is your experience with Monster Musume?
With Monster Musume, you know, I would say Monster Musume is probably my number one guilty pleasure.
Me too.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I honestly, I cannot remember the first time I saw one of the like original comics that God, I forget. Okayato illustrated. Because there's an original series of like 1-page comics where like a nameless protagonist, not Kimihito, the guy in the show, meets these monster girls, and through this single page, kind of like you go through their relationship, sort of like as though he's already kind of like with them. I literally cannot remember how young I was when I first read one of those, and I thought, man, that was really cute. And I read them all. And Monster Musume, I mean, it took a long time for Monster Musume to warp from those illustrations into a manga. Like, I'm actually Like, I'm actually gonna look it up right now. Monster Musume manga. When did that start? When did that start going? Anyway, I think like it took until comfortably after the year like 2010 for the manga to start, right? I think like there's a fucking big gap in time there. I wanna actually get the year because that seems like it'd be really helpful to answer this. Yeah, 2012. 19th March 2012 is apparently when the original run started. So like the manga started coming out in Japanese, and I saw some scans of it, and I was like, wait, this seems familiar. This seems really familiar. And after I read through like the first couple chapters that had been scanned online, I was like, shit, I need to go back and like, what were those comics? What were those things? And like, lo and behold, same artist, and like a lot of ideas from those comics are just wholesale reused in Monster Musume. But I mean, it's fine because they were never meant to be like published or anything. They were these like incredibly short, like little one-offs. And so like reading through Monster Musume, like there was like a heavy dose of nostalgia for me where I was just like, oh, right, I remember that single page comic that like, look, it just got morphed into 2 chapters in front of me, you know? So I just really, really dug it. And I definitely think nostalgia probably played a little bit into that. Though now we're at like volume like 10 or 12 in English.
11.
I can't. 11?
I've been buying all of them.
Yeah, no, same. I got the last one a little while ago, so I couldn't quite remember the number. But yeah, like I've been buying and reading all of them, and they're eventually they deviated from the source material, and now they're on to like pretty much wholly original stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean some of it holds up better than other bits, like the bit with Naineta Ills, the Kitsune character. Like there's a really fun arc there. But then some other arcs I find are a little bit weaker. The one that's ongoing right now, well, as far as the English localization is concerned,
Yeah.
I think it's like a little bit weaker. But
I kind of enjoy.
I still enjoy it.
I kind of enjoy the change that the recent arc has had, where it's like every other arc before it has been chapter on chapter. Like, you know you're going to get a cliffhanger at the end of the volume, and you know every chapter is going to be relatively self-contained. And
Yeah.
I like the fact that Volume 11's arc is kind of, it spreads itself across the chapters a bit more evenly, a bit more naturally.
Yeah, definitely. No, I do agree. Yeah, I think unfortunately, I think Okayato is like, I think he's like a pretty bad writer, and I I think it's a shame.
Yeah.
Have you tried reading his other manga, 1-2 Beast?
12 Beasts, yeah,
Is it 12 Beast? Because there's like a dash in between, and I can never tell.
well, the manga shop that I go to has it listed under letter T, so I just trust that it's called 12 Beast.
Oh, you know what? Actually, now that I look at it, I think I'm misremembering. There's totally no dash there. So yeah, 12 Beast. Yeah, sure.
12 Beast is terrible.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I bought all the volumes that are currently out as well, and like 12 Beast is so awful. It's like I kind of like the main character of Monster Musume. He's named, for anyone who hasn't seen it, he's named Kimihito, which just pretty much means that guy or that person. And he's the epitome of like faceless male character for Japanese people to project themselves upon.
When he originally pitched the manga, he didn't even want to draw Kimihito's face. He wanted to leave it completely blank.
Which is pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
But he, like, Kimihito, I find, like, actually manages to, like, in spite of himself, be like a fun character.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because like he's so idiotic, and he plays it so straight, and like there's never any confusion with the characters loving each other.
Yeah.
Like they all love him, and he just can't seem to handle any of that.
Yeah.
And for some reason it totally works, because in any other show that would annoy me so much, but for some reason in Monster Musume I find it totally works. But in like 12 Beast, like it's another like relatively generic protagonist, but like he's not quite as bland as Kimihito, and he's like a huge video game nerd otaku.
But he's also a ninja.
I can relate to that, but he's also got crazy ninja training, because he's got to be like super capable of fighting, which is like, all right, so like he's like some very aggressive wish fulfillment for some people. But yeah, and then I don't know, man, he's just not, he doesn't compel me at all as a character, and like some of the other characters are like somewhat compelling, but the main character just spoils it for me. Like every time the main character saves the day with his amazing ninjutsu, it's like I don't fucking care.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the flow of everything is like really identical to Monster Musume. You just swap out the like emotional peaks in Monster Musume, whether they be humor or romance or eros. You swap that out for action, and it's like, oh,
It doesn't work at all.
So I mean, like, you know, it's cruel, but like I'm excited for it to end to see if he can write something else.
I can't wait for it to
and
end.
to see if he's because I want to believe that he's not a one-trick pony, but to be honest, his writing's not particularly high quality in Monster Musume either.
No,
So
it isn't.
there's every chance that Monster Musume is just a huge fluke and it just all happens to work. But I'll continue to enjoy it while it exists.
If he does Monster Musume for maybe 30, 40 volumes, probably not, but if he does it for that long, then I'm more than happy for that to go on as long as it is.
No, for sure. And, you know, it's unfortunate because when you say that, it's like, okay, well, yeah, would I want it to end at 20? And I feel like I would just feel sad, like, if it ended at 20, because I don't feel like I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah,
because, like,
sometimes when
it, like, appeared in my life and then it just came back, like, over a decade later, and it's like, no, now I don't want to let go.
Yeah, sometimes when I've put down a volume, like, the way I think about the volumes is the same as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where every year Charlie gets the Wonka bar for his birthday and his family's so poor that's the only time he can get it, so he's got to make it last the whole year. Like,
Right.
That's how I feel reading Monster Musume. It's like, oh, I've got to wait another 4 months for the next one, I need to pace this out, and then within a week
Yeah.
I've got it all finished, and I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah, exactly. But I have a lot of genuine affection for it, and the anime was incredibly well adapted as well, I gotta say.
You think?
I think so. Yeah, I think it got, like, there were liberties taken for sure, but I think it got, like, the core ideas across of, like, here are a bunch of cute monster girls. Please enjoy them.
Absolutely, but
Like, I'm willing to agree to disagree on that. I personally, I really liked the adaptation. Yeah.
maybe it's just Okuyado's writing or what he wrote, but I don't feel like the way they adapted the panels, like panel for panel, really worked in the way that the episodes played out.
Yeah, some of the presentation was a bit bland in that sense, right? Is that what you're getting at there?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I will totally back that down to, like, I really love the series in like a stupid nostalgic way, and so, like, I'm willing to stomach, like, less quality stuff. The only Monster Musume stuff that I don't like, and I'm glad it's over, was they were publishing a side series called Monster Musume I Heart Monster Girls.
Oh yeah, the
And
anthology.
it's 3 anthologies of doujin manga by other artists, all not 18 plus.
It's there's more than 3 volumes.
Were there 4 then?
I think it's still going.
No, it ended.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
it was
Thank
4.
you.
Yeah, no, I'm looking it up. It was 4. Yeah, you're right. It was actually 4. But yeah, like I read all of those, and boy, yeah, it makes you think that, like, Okayado's writing is, like, incredibly high quality. So, just, like, some of the jokes, I'm reading them and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, come on, that's and they got some really good artists in there. Like, I think Zeton contributed, and, like, a bunch of other known, like, Monster Girl artists.
Yeah.
So, like, they got good shit in there, but it's there's probably enough good shit to fill 1 volume, and they published 4. So
Paul, what do you think?
that's the only thing I couldn't
What do I
stomach. I'm
think
sorry, go
of-
ahead.
What do you think of Monster Musume from your experiences?
It's not my cup of tea.
How far did you get in again?
All I've seen of it, I'd imagine. I don't think I even tried an episode. I think I just saw a trailer and went, no, not my cup of tea. And then I think you sat me down to watch the episode with the bird girl laying an egg.
No. Before that.
Yeah, fuck that.
Before that was you were hanging out at my house, and I was talking about Monster Musume a lot because I'm completely shameless, and you randomly picked up the first volume and went, right, might as well check this out, and you read about 6 pages, and you turned the page and I just saw your face go like, whoa! Like, what the
Right.
fuck? And then you went, okay, that's enough for today, alright, goodbye, not into that. And that was your experience with it.
Very much.
So yeah, that kind of thing isn't really your cup of tea.
Aye, well, it's just it seems to be what a lot of comedies, like a lot of light-hearted stuff, I'm pretty much put off against. There obviously are exceptions here and there, but a lot of times out of 10, if it's light-hearted and cheerful, then I'm just going to walk away from it. I prefer darker stuff myself.
Yeah, generally speaking, I completely agree with you. Like I'm struggling through Arrow Manga Sensei, but like some other recent shows like Gabriel Dropout and stuff, like I could not even deal for a second. Like anyone saying Monster Musume is not my cup of tea, it's like the most inarguable sentence I can hear.
Yeah.
It's and specifically that bit you mentioned of like Pappy with like the ovulation thing, like yeah, that chapter. I didn't even like that chapter. That's a fetish for someone, and that ain't me. But yeah, no, I fucking hear you there. That's it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a very good at conversation.
So you've recently gotten into manga, Paul?
Yes.
Like in the past, what is it? 2 weeks, month?
Yeah, probably the last month, something like that.
You've been loving Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it.
But you were nearly caught up with it, so what you're looking for is something new, something that can tide you by for a while you're waiting.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Do you have any idea of what Paul might want to move on to, Liam?
From Tokyo Ghoul?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was specifically from Tokyo Ghoul, probably... Yeah, I don't know if there's anything specific that would come to mind from Tokyo Ghoul in particular. But on the topic of like what's a good manga that I read recently, let me just make sure I remember the name right. I believe it's Inuyashiki.
Inuyashiki.
Yeah, Inuyashiki. That's it. Which is like it's like a sci-fi manga. I only read the first 2 volumes, but I quite enjoyed it. It's like it's the definition of dark. It's by Hiroya Oku, who also did like Gantz, which I think Gantz is probably his most famous work. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I've heard of Gantz.
Yeah, it is quite dark. And Inuyashiki is about an old man who I think his name was actually Inuyashiki, and he's got like no friends, and his family don't give a shit. Even though he's at that age where he super needs his family to help, so it's kind of a shit situation for him. And like I don't remember if he gets struck by lightning or whatever. Something hits him, right? Something like some unknown force hits him. And then he wakes up and everything seems normal, but then he realizes his body's been replaced with like a mechanical like endoskeleton, and his body's got like a ton of powers now. Like it's got like I believe it like has guns and shit. Like it's super strong. Like it's like he's basically replaced with the Terminator body, but he's all still there. And he's like incredibly mobile and stuff too. Like he doesn't have those restrictions of Terminators. And so he decides to fight crime basically. And that, but there, it turns out there's another person who also got hit by that unknown force, and who is kind of like a sociopath, and so it's kind of like a rival kind of thing. It's real neat. It's not high prose or anything, but it's cool, and that artist's art has always been really really strong as well. So it's an easy recommendation if you want something like kind of dark and also different. Like it feels different. Well, it feels different from most manga. It doesn't feel too different from that artist's work. Like if you've read Gantz before, you'll see some overlap, but like it's like very very focused on violence in like a super overtly way. I in fact I don't know how this manga is like published in Japan, if there's like an R18 publication or something, because like there's lots of blood. There's people getting shot in the head. There's like it's more extreme than most manga.
Crunchyroll have it on their service.
Oh shit, do they? Dope. I've never seen the show actually.
No, no, not the show, the manga.
Oh, Gantz. The manga. Oh, right, Crunchyroll has a manga service.
Yeah,
Shit.
they've got quite a lot of good stuff on there, but they haven't really updated much recently.
I forgot. Does a sub to Crunchyroll anime entitle you to the manga, or is that a separate thing?
Yes, it does.
Oh shit. I should
on
get
there.
that.
They've got something I'd recommend to you, anyone, Liam. In fact, is A Silent Voice.
Oh yeah, I've read it.
Holy
yeah.
shit!
What a good ass manga.
Have you seen the film?
So unfortunately, I have never seen the film, but I hear it's an incredibly good adaptation.
Really good.
I'd go so far as to say that it improves upon the source material.
Yeah, no, it's fucking good though. Like I have read it, and that's some shit, man.
Yeah.
As dark in all the ways you want.
Yeah. The film was directed by Naoki Yamada, the same person who directed K-On! And Tamako Market.
Yeah, it's by Kyoto Animation, right?
Yeah. And holy shit, obviously it's a film, so they can't have everything in. So there's a lot of unnecessary to the major themes stuff that they remove, and a lot of the time they supercut the unmemorable scenes, where it's like it'll take 2 scenes from the manga that have separate meanings and write new scenes that include those meanings just to fill in time, and it worked really well because those are scenes that you didn't quite remember. So if you read the manga on a casual basis and didn't soak in every single detail of every single scene, then you won't notice a difference.
So would you say that it's more like cutting the chaff than losing something meaningful?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because
cool.
And the most memorable scenes, like, I don't know, I'm not going to throw out any spoilers in case whoever's listening to this
Yeah. No, wouldn't want to spoil that for sure. It's incredibly good.
The best scenes from the manga are rendered completely and utterly adapted, panel for panel.
Great.
And they are just breathtaking.
That's awesome.
The film also ends slightly earlier than the manga does, because the manga spends quite a bit of time just plundering along and this and that and this and that, and well, they get together in the future, she'll come back and run the hair salon, and just setting up for sort of a finale that didn't really leave much impact and wasn't very conclusive. But the film ends on the festival scene instead, so it increases the drama around that scene, so that
that's a tasteful choice.
So that it serves as a really solid conclusion.
Soundtrack helped a lot as well.
Yeah, they throw in all the bombastic emotional music, they ramp up all the drama of the scene and the way Shoya reacts to things that happen in that scene.
Yeah, I can totally see how closing on that scene in a more bombastic way makes a lot of sense. Yeah. That's cool.
That is my favourite film ever made.
Oh, damn.
That's sort of thing that people would usually throw around lightly, so to justify that, I've seen it 3 times in the cinemas. The second time had a Q&A session with Naoki Yamada after it, and that was really enjoyable. But I went to see it 3 times, and held up every single time. I cried twice every single time, at least.
Twice every single time, so that's 6 tier sessions total?
Yeah. I went to see it with Paul here the 3rd time, and as soon as it wrapped up, Paul turned to me and said, "You're okay?" And I just went, "Just give me a minute.
So Paul's the strong one here, right?
Yeah,
I'm getting that
Paul's
right?
the nerves of steel.
Well, there are some stuff that can break me down into tears. I know Hannah had me in tears. Code Geass had me in tears. Death Notes had me nearly in tears a few times.
Where?
Just with
I also cried when Elle died and the show started sucking.
Oh yeah.
No, I kid.
I haven't looked back at Death Note quite as critically as I look at a lot of things recently. I'm sure I'd find that the second half of Death Note is not as good as the first, but
it's a fun show.
To an unskeptical mind, it was just, I don't know, it didn't seem any worse. But I'm willing to believe that what people say about it, because it's such a common complaint.
Yeah, Paul. I watched it for the first time. Might have been a year and a half. It might even be 2 years ago now. That was the first time I ever watched it. I knew Elle died. I think everyone kind of knows that, and I knew a couple other cliff notes, but not too much. And I certainly didn't know how much it continued after Elle's death. And yeah, up until Elle dying, it was fucking great. It was so good.
Yeah.
And then after Elle's death, it wasn't abysmal. It really wasn't abysmal. It wasn't like bad either. No. But I feel like there was a little step down, and perhaps it was also like an internal step down where like I lost a bit of interest because Elle was so compelling, and
yeah, I can see
I don't feel like what are their names again? The kids who come in. Yeah, I don't feel like they filled Elle, like, even though in terms of their skill set they totally filled his shoes. I feel like in terms of
character,
charisma and intrigue and character, they weren't the mystery that Elle was. Yeah.
Nier was like basically another copy of Elle, except it's games this time, and he treats everything like a game, which I personally found quite entertaining. But I can see why it's just basically a carbon copy of like Elle in a lot of ways. And then I liked how Mello basically got affiliated with the underground and went about it his own way. Like he just basically resorted to any method possible to try and catch Kira. I did find that interesting, and was a pretty good idea for a continuation, considering that one of the key characters was killed off. I think they did a pretty good job, but
yeah, Definitely. Like I said, it's really not abysmal. Like, it's not awful when it happens, but it's like, yeah, for me it wasn't quite as interesting. I still followed through and liked it though. So
That ending was, I love that ending, man. It's one of my favorite scenes.
yeah. Are you a fan of like Tsumugi Oba and Takashi Obata? Because like their subsequent manga Bakuman is like one of my all-time favorites.
Are you talking about the one it's where the characters are writing manga?
Yes.
They're making manga, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed
the anime. Yeah, the anime is not so strong, but the manga.
Oh.
Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and point out that that's not a common opinion. I think a lot of people did like the anime a lot. It's just me. It didn't go for some reason. But the manga.
I've seen the anime.
Holy shit!
I haven't seen the manga.
I highly recommend it if you liked the anime. The manga, I didn't follow through on the anime, but I believe the manga also goes much farther. But it also just concludes like 20 volumes in, so it's not like a super deep commitment, and you get a real conclusion. So
I'd imagine the manga goes into more detail, so that's already piqued my interest.
Yeah.
yeah,
You've probably got that impression on most manga, haven't you? From
Yeah, well, it's basically books.
From Tokyo Ghoul's anime, and the way that sort of like 1 volume per episode is the rate that anime goes at.
Yeah, there was.
and that's breakneck.
Yeah, like in episode 4, there's a scene where Kaneki is told, like, come down to this basement, I'll teach you how to fight. In the next scene, he's fighting like this bruiser that's 3 times his size.
Are you talking about Nishiki? I think his name is.
Yeah, it just doesn't flow well, the anime, I feel.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, sure
fair.
it looks beautiful, but
I think I must have switched off a few times when I watched that because I just seemed to understand everything. I don't know how I did. The only thing I didn't really understand was at the beginning of season 2 when Kaneki just randomly goes, "Fuck it, I'm joining Anteku," and then I just sort of, after watching it a few times, figured that it must be because he's going to.
remember, Liam's only 5 volumes in.
That's okay. It's not like a killer spoiler.
No,
or
it
anything.
isn't.
It's fine.
I'm gonna. Nah,
The anime goes in a different
I'm gonna
direction
keep
from the
quiet
manga, I've heard. Going back to Tsugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata's work, I do quite like them. I've read all the way through Death Note, even after watching the anime, and yeah, that's good. I've read somewhat into Bakuman, nearly halfway now, and yeah, that's... If I ever need a lift in my spirits, I just read Bakuman. It's a feel-good manga, if anything.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not just like it is feel good for sure, but I feel like it's like really inspiring as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess even though it's fiction about 2 people working, and it's still that fantasy of like working on the thing you dream of and succeeding really hard.
Yeah.
But it's succeeding through travails and through their own force, powering through and stuff. Like it's just really satisfying.
Absolutely, yeah.
In that sense,
It's something.
they're newer. They're newer.
It's some.
Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, it's actually something you see a lot. I think with just like a lot of shonens fight and achieve your dreams and all this, but it's a more down to earth version. Like it's like the actual manga creation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you can see how that could appeal to fans as well, because fans love anime and manga.
Yeah, it is a shonen manga
Yeah.
at heart, but at the same time, it's really refreshing.
Yeah,
And it's not the sort of stuff that would run in that magazine, where it's sort of like a meta manga more than anything.
Definitely.
And like you said, Liam, it's really inspiring.
Yeah, their newer manga as well, Platinum End, is also
I've
good.
checked
It's
that
very
out as well,
different. It's at least it's got his art still.
It's really bleak though. There's something
Yeah,
about it where
definitely.
I'm like, oh god, it's almost the polar opposite of Bakuman.
It's interesting because it really doesn't start out super bleak and it takes a hard turn. It's really satisfying.
You think it didn't start out super bleak?
Maybe I'm misremembering how it started.
The main character
like
tried to
now
kill
you're
himself.
making me right. Yeah, but that was how it started. Shit, wasn't
And then he
it?
killed his
Because
stepmother.
immediately after trying to kill himself, he meets an angel, right, or some shit, or
No, the angel
I
catches
haven't
him.
read it. The angel catches. Okay, I haven't read it since like 2015 when it came out. But right, shit, it did start on suicide, didn't
Yeah.
it? Fuck. Because after that, like it's a bit more uplifting, if I remember right. Like
I'm maybe a chapter into the 2nd volume. I'm not really up for it.
fuck, man, did I? Am I completely misremembering that?
It's
Shit.
coming out really slowly in the English translations.
Yeah.
Like maybe 5 months between volumes. It's really slow.
Shit, God, maybe I should go back and reread that completely. Because I think I only ever got through the first 2 volumes, like back when they were coming out in
Japan.
Japan. So fuck, shit. No. Now that I'm reading the summary, it's like wait. That is way more bleak than I
It was
remembered.
intriguing, actually. Just the fact he was committing suicide caught my interest.
Pardon?
Just the fact the guy was committing suicide at the start of the manga. I read a few pages of this. I've not actually read the full thing, but I remember he was, as you were saying, he was going to commit suicide at the start, and that actually caught my interest and made me want to read more.
Yeah, because why is he doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did you know Sugumi Oba? No, not Sugumi Oba, but well,
Takeshi Obata.
yeah, he illustrated a manga called School Judgment, which was for another writer other than Sugumi Oba.
Oh,
Gakyu Hotai.
yeah, he's done other ones. I'm trying to look up School Judgment. Okay, yeah, I'm actually not familiar with this one, but he did another one too called Ralgrad, which was written by Tsuneo Takano, and it's not so strong as far as I'm concerned. And was iShield 21 his thing as well?
I think that was his, yeah. I think that was his original work.
Oh, that one's no, that one actually is different. Never mind. I thought he worked on that. I was so sure he worked on that. It's probably not him then. But yeah, no, he does have some work with other authors, which is neat. But like, it's really those two together that's like fucking strong.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. If you have any questions you want answered in the next episode, make sure to drop it in the comments down below. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Liam. Where can our listeners find you?
If you want to find my stuff, you can check out Rising Superstream on Twitch or on YouTube, and on Twitter at RSSLiam. Yeah, that's me. That's where I'm at.
And if you want to check out reviews of anime, manga, and all that good stuff, make sure to subscribe or follow me on Twitter at the Scotaku for the latest updates. If you like what I do, consider making a contribution to the channel at patreon.com/Scotaku. This has been Alexander, Paul, and Rising Super Guest Liam on Raving Gaijins, signing out.